Wake up, America. That's not a request, it's a warning. Look around at 2025. Our country is a tinderbox of looming disasters. Hyperinflation is knocking on the door. Seasoned market analysts warn the US dollar could crash and send prices through the roof. Geopolitical powder kegs are exploding. There's a major war raging in Europe, new conflicts flaring in the Middle East, and tensions with superpowers at levels we haven't seen in decades. The Bulletin of Atomic Scientists has pushed the Doomsday Clock to just 89 seconds to midnight, the closest to global annihilation ever. Meanwhile, invisible enemies are attacking us every day. Cyberattacks on our infrastructure are surging, with experts warning that hackers could plunge our power grid into darkness at any moment. And those all-important supply chains? They're crumbling. Even the Department of Homeland Security admits our supply chains are fragile, vulnerable to foreign adversaries, conflict, economic shocks, you name it. One crack in the system and the goods we depend on vanish from shelves. Think it can't happen? It already has. Remember 2020, when a microscopic virus emptied every grocery store in days? Remember the gas lines when a single pipeline hack shut down fuel to half the East Coast? This isn't dystopian fiction. It's real, and it's a hair's breadth away. FEMA and Homeland Security have both been urging Americans to stock up and prepare, but too many are hitting snooze on the alarm. Well, consider this your final wake-up call. Tonight, I'm not here to coddle you. I'm here to jolt you into action. I'm about to unleash a list of 50 things that experienced preppers absolutely know will be worth their weight in gold after a collapse. Not nice-to-haves, not cute survival gadgets. I'm talking essentials. The lifelines and lifesavers that disappear first and skyrocket in value when the SHTF for real. Pay close attention, because every item on this list is something most people take for granted right now, and will beg, borrow, or kill for when everything falls apart. No more hesitation. Let's dive into it with urgency and conviction, one item at a time, in no particular order, because you'll need all of them. Number 1, water filtration. Water, water, water. You're dead in 3 days without clean water, period. When the taps run dry and the rivers are contaminated, clean drinking water becomes currency. Preppers know this. That's why a solid water filtration system is priceless. I'm talking Berkey gravity filters, LifeStraw personal filters, Sawyer minis, you name it. These devices turn filthy sludge into life-sustaining hydration. The government quietly acknowledges this need. FEMA itself recommends at minimum 1 gallon of water per person per day in an emergency. Think about that. How will you carry enough water for your family? You won't, unless you can filter whatever water you find. A creek in the woods, a mud puddle, your neighbor's swimming pool. If you have a good filter, you have water. When everyone else is desperately boiling dubious water over a trash fire, if they're lucky enough to have fuel, you'll be sipping safe, clean water thanks to that Berkey or LifeStraw you had the foresight to get. In a collapse, water is life, and the ability to purify water is power. Number 2, water storage containers. All the filtration in the world won't help if you have no way to store and transport water. Most people utterly overlook this. Experienced preppers stock up on big water barrels, jerry cans, water totes, even collapsible bladders for the bathtub. When the municipal water pressure drops to 0, you'll kick yourself for not having a 55-gallon drum filled in the garage. Those cheap plastic gallon jugs from the grocery? Gone on day 1. If you're prepared, you have sturdy, food-grade containers ready to catch rainwater or stash a supply from the last trickle of your faucet. You have a water bob bladder ready to fill in your bathtub at the first sign of trouble. Water is heavy, 8 pounds a gallon, so you'd better have a way to haul it. The value of a simple 5-gallon water jug or a wheeled water tote will shoot through the roof when everyone is carrying pots and pans to the nearest puddle. Preppers who've thought ahead might even have a hand cart to move water. You think people won't trade an ounce of gold for a gallon of clean water when they're dying of thirst? Watch them. In a collapse, a basic water storage barrel or even a clean old milk jug becomes precious. Get them now, while they're practically free, because later on you wouldn't trade them for anything. Number 3, water purification chemicals. If you can't boil it or filter it, you'd better be able to chemically treat it. Bleach. Plain, unscented household bleach can disinfect water, a few drops per quart, and save you from cholera or worse. Preppers know to stock up on bleach or, better yet, pool shock, calcium hypochlorite, which lasts longer and can be mixed to purify water. Water purification tablets, iodine or chlorine dioxide, are dirt cheap now and will be priceless post-collapse. In normal times, nobody gives a damn about a tiny bottle of potable aqua tablets or a pound of pool shock powder. But when people are dropping from waterborne diseases, that little bottle of iodine tablets will be worth more than diamonds. Listen, a single gallon of bleach can treat hundreds of gallons of water. It costs a couple of bucks today. After the collapse, if you have bleach, you have leverage. You could literally save lives or name your price. And here's a tip: stock bleach powder, pool shock, because liquid bleach loses potency after a year. You want the ability to make water safe for the long haul. Those who don't prepare? They'll be drinking from algae-filled ponds and praying they don't get sick. You'll be the one with the chemical know-how and supplies to turn scummy water into something drinkable. That's priceless. Number 4, canned food and dry staples. When the trucks stop running, the grocery aisles are stripped bare immediately. I hope you've seen it happen. If not, you will. Grocery stores typically have only about a 3-day supply of food on hand, and that's during normal times, restocked continually. In a collapse, forget it. The average family's pantry will be emptied fast. That's why experienced preppers hoard canned goods and dry staples like rice, beans, flour, pasta. These humble foods are lifesavers. Beans and rice might sound boring now, but a 50-pound sack of rice, which costs, $20 today, will seem like a treasure chest after 2 weeks of no food shipments. Canned meat, canned veggies, peanut butter, oats, saltine crackers, stuff that can sit on a shelf for years. While your oblivious neighbor is staring in shock at empty Walmart shelves, you'll be cracking open a can of tuna and a can of beans, thanking yourself for the foresight. Here's the thing: calories are king in a collapse. You won't care about keto or gluten-free or any of that. You'll care about feeding your kids so they don't starve. A can of soup will trade like gold coins when people are hungry. Preppers know to buy it cheap now and stack it deep. Every extra case of canned chili or Spam in your closet could mean the difference between eating and starving later. And pro tip, don't forget salt, plain salt. It's cheap now, but historically, salt was so valuable it sparked wars. After the collapse, a big bag of salt to flavor food and preserve meat will be worth its weight in gold, too. Stock up. Number 5, freeze-dried foods and MREs. You've seen those buckets of survival food advertised, right? Ever wonder who buys them? Smart people, that's who. Freeze-dried meals like Mountain House or Augusten Farms, or military MREs, meals ready to eat, are a prepper's secret weapon. Why? Because they last 25-plus years on the shelf and provide hot, satisfying meals when there's zero fresh food around. In normal times, a packet of freeze-dried beef stew is something backpackers take on a trip. Post-collapse, that packet is a gourmet dinner when everyone else is chewing on tree bark and shoe leather. Sure, they're a little pricey now, but after the collapse, they'll be unobtainium. Think about it. A lightweight bucket with a month of meals inside. Just add water, heat, and you have real food. Preppers invest in these because they know these packs outlive any crisis. And if you've ever eaten an MRE, you know they're calorie-packed, not the tastiest, but they'll keep you alive and moving when there's nothing else. These aren't in your average pantry, so once the normal food is gone, freeze-dried packets become highly coveted. Picture the desperation in a father's eyes when his kids haven't eaten in 2 days, and you hand him a warm pouch of mac and cheese that just needed hot water. What would that be worth? Think about it. Preppers don't want to find out the hard way, so they stockpile long shelf-life foods now. After society collapses, those buckets of ready-made meals will be priceless trade items and critical morale boosters for your own family. You can't put a price on not starving. Number 6, heirloom seeds for food production. If the collapse lasts more than a few weeks, whatever food you stored will start dwindling. What then? You can't stroll into Kroger and reload your pantry. This is where seeds come in. Not just any seeds. Heirloom, non-hybrid seeds that actually produce fertile crops season after season. Every experienced prepper I know has a seed bank tucked away. Packets of heirloom seeds for vegetables, grains, fruits. In normal times, people laugh. Seeds are pennies apiece, handed out at garden stores in spring. But after a collapse, those tiny seeds are the key to renewable food. Picture next spring when bellies are empty and there's no government food aid. A single tomato seed can grow a plant that yields 20-30 tomatoes. A handful of corn kernels can produce a crop to feed a family. You think seeds won't be worth anything? Ask yourself why seeds were more valuable than cash in places that have collapsed before. In Venezuela's crisis, urban gardens sprang up everywhere. Seeds were desperately sought. One little foil seed packet could become a powerful barter item. Give me some of your harvest, and I'll trade you seeds for lettuce or carrots. Heirloom seeds will be priceless because hybrid or GMO seeds from big agriculture might not reproduce, and scrounging seeds from rotting produce is unreliable. Preppers know to store seeds now in airtight containers, cool and dark, so they germinate later. When others are scouring dead gardens and eating weeds, you'll be planting real food. In a year-long collapse scenario, seeds aren't just valuable, they're hope in tangible form. That's beyond price. Number 7. Gardening tools. All the seeds in the world won't help if you can't tend a garden. Post-collapse manual labor is back with a vengeance. Gardening tools that require no electricity or gas will shoot up in value the moment people realize food isn't coming back to supermarket shelves. I'm talking shovels, hoes, rakes, trowels, wheelbarrows, the basics of growing and producing food. Today, these tools gather dust in garages or sell for a few dollars at yard sales. But when everyone's tearing up their lawns to plant potatoes and cabbages, a sturdy shovel or a quality hoe will be worth a fortune. If you have extra tools, you can bet folks will line up to trade whatever they have for them. Think of it. You can't exactly plow a field with your bare hands. Preppers make sure they have at least one of each essential garden tool, often multiples for redundancy or barter. You'd be amazed how many people won't have a simple spade when they suddenly need to dig a latrine or plant crops. And don't forget hand tools like pruning shears, hand drills, files to sharpen blades. If it doesn't run on power, it's good to have. After the collapse, when gas and electricity are absent, we're back to muscle power. So those old-school tools our grandparents used? Priceless. An axe to chop wood, we'll get to that. A pitchfork to turn soil, even a hand-cranked grain mill, all these once-common items become lifesavers. Preppers know the value of self-sufficiency, and a set of solid gardening tools is at the heart of it. Get them now while they're cheap and ubiquitous, because later you might trade a whole day's worth of food for a single shovel. Number 8. Cooking equipment, non-electric. You've got water and food. Now how do you cook when the grid is down? After a collapse, your fancy electric stove and microwave are nothing but paperweights. The value of non-electric cooking gear will skyrocket. I'm talking camp stoves, propane grills, rocket stoves, cast-iron cookware that you can throw right on an open fire. A cast-iron Dutch oven or skillet is golden, durable, works on coals or a fire pit, and lasts generations. Today, people think of cast iron as some hipster cookware or something for camping. In a collapse, a cast iron pot is the difference between eating a hot meal or gnawing raw food. Also, consider manual kitchen tools. A hand crank can opener, imagine having cases of cans and no can opener, nightmare. Hand egg beaters, manual grain mills to grind wheat into flour. These low-tech gadgets are trivial now. Amazon sells can openers for $5. But post-collapse, a simple can opener is worth its weight in gold if yours breaks and you're staring at a pile of canned goods you can't get into. Same with a pressure cooker or canning jars for preserving food. Grandma's canning equipment becomes critical when you have to bottle and save every scrap of food you grow or hunt. Preppers snatch up spare propane tanks, extra camping stove fuel, and they know how to cook over a fire. When the collapse hits, you'll see people building fires in their backyards with pots balanced on rocks, comically inefficient because they never learned better. You, on the other hand, if you've prepared, will pull out that camp stove or hang a Dutch oven over a well-built fire and cook in minutes. Those who didn't prepare will watch with envy, and they'll trade anything for a functional way to boil water and cook beans. Mark my words, a quality cast iron pot or a camp stove will be priceless post-collapse. Number 9. First aid kit and medical supplies. Injuries and illness don't stop just because society does. In fact, they get worse. Post-collapse hospitals will either be overwhelmed or non-functional, and pharmacists will be long gone. This means first aid supplies in your home become literal lifesavers. A well-stocked first aid kit, bandages, gauze, tape, antiseptics, tweezers, medical gloves, splints, tourniquets, you name it, will be beyond valuable. In normal times, people barely bother with more than a box of Band-Aids under the sink. But when 911 isn't coming, a deep cut can be a death sentence if you can't treat it. Preppers stash things like quick-clot hemostatic gauze to stop bleeding, heavy-duty trauma dressings, even sutures or staplers for wound closure if they're trained to use them. Think about a simple infection from a cut, no antibiotics. We'll get to those. And you could lose a limb or die. That's why even basic items like antibiotic ointment, alcohol prep pads, iodine, and peroxide become critically important. Post-collapse, people will trade anything for something as simple as sterile bandages if they're bleeding. A bottle of aspirin or ibuprofen for pain relief? Priceless when you have a pounding infection-induced fever and there's no doctor. Preppers know that being able to treat yourself and your family is non-negotiable. In 2025, we're already seeing drug and supply shortages in hospitals. Over 270 medications were in shortage in early 2025 in the U.S. That's now with society intact. Imagine in a collapse scenario. Even Tylenol will become a black market item. So stock up on pain relievers, fever reducers, allergy meds, bandages of all sizes, medical tape, scissors, and learn first aid skills. Because when the time comes, your knowledge plus that bag of medical supplies will be beyond price. And if you have extras, you might literally be the town doctor by default, with patients trading you whatever they have for a bit of healing. Powerful position, isn't it? Number 10. OTC medicines and personal medications. Let's expand on meds. Think of all the over-the-counter meds you grab at CVS when you need them. Painkillers, aspirin, ibuprofen, acetaminophen, fever reducers, antacids for indigestion, antihistamines for allergic reactions, cough syrup, cold medicine. In normal times, these are cheap, plentiful, taken for granted. After a collapse, when manufacturing and distribution cease, those little pills and syrups become precious. A bottle of Tylenol now costs a few bucks. After collapse, it might as well be $100 or more in trade value, if you can find it. If you've ever had a severe toothache or a migraine, you know you'd pay anything for relief. Preppers stockpile OTC meds because they don't want to suffer needlessly or have a minor ailment turn life-threatening. And let's not forget prescription meds. If you or a family member rely on life-sustaining prescriptions, insulin, heart meds, asthma inhalers, imagine those running out. It's terrifying. Pre-collapse, you should beg your doctor for a 3-month supply, use online services to get ahead if possible, or find veterinary or alternative sources if appropriate. Some preppers, for example, know certain animal meds can substitute in a pinch. Because once pharmacies are looted or closed, it's game over for those who didn't secure their critical meds. Also, think about vitamins. Scurvy and malnutrition come back with a vengeance when fresh food is scarce. A simple multivitamin pill could keep you healthy when your diet is just rice and canned beans. So stock up on multivitamins and specific supplements, vitamin C, D, etc. Now, post-collapse, you won't find a Centrum bottle anywhere, and people will be desperate for nutrients. In short, medicines equal sign life. Store an abundance of them while it's easy, and you'll have one of the most valuable caches imaginable when everything goes south. Number 11, antibiotics and knowledge to use them. If you think getting a doctor's appointment is hard now, just wait until after the collapse. Simple infections that we cure today with a course of antibiotics could kill you when there's no pharmacy open. That's why antibiotics are gold in a post-collapse world. Preppers go to lengths here. Some stockfish antibiotics, which are often the same compounds as human meds like amoxicillin, ciprofloxacin, etc., just labeled for aquarium use, because you can buy them without a prescription. Others quietly accumulate extra prescribed antibiotics when they can. This is advanced prepper stuff, because using antibiotics wrongly can be dangerous, but the bottom line is, If you get pneumonia or a bad wound infection in a collapsed society, you'll wish you had a stash of antibiotics. Right now, in 2025, hospitals are already seeing shortages of critical drugs. That's a canary in the coal mine. After the collapse, there'll be no new shipments. The few antibiotics remaining will be worth more than gold and fought over like treasure. Imagine trading a bar of gold for a course of penicillin to save your child's life. You'd do it in a heartbeat. Preppers plan ahead to avoid that nightmare. They also download or keep medical guides on how to dose and use these meds because you must know what you're doing. But trust me, in a grid-down scenario, even knowing that garlic has antibacterial properties or having a stock of honey, a natural antiseptic, is valuable. Bottom line, if you can prevent or cure infections when no one else can, you are sitting on a priceless skill and supply. You'll save lives, including your own, and in barter, everyone will want what you have. Antibiotics turn you into a literal lifesaver. Number 12, soap and hygiene supplies. When society collapses, sanitation goes out the window for most people. Guess what follows? Disease. History proves that in any prolonged disaster, disease from poor sanitation kills almost as many as starvation or violence. Soap will be a hero item. Bars of soap, liquid soap, dish soap, laundry detergent. If it cleans, it's valuable. Right now, soap is so cheap we stockpile fancy scented ones or just assume it's always there. Post-collapse, a single bar of antibacterial soap could be a lifeline that prevents a deadly cholera outbreak in your group. Preppers sock away heaps of soap bars. They last forever if kept dry. Bottles of unscented bleach. We covered water purification, but bleach is also crucial for cleaning surfaces and preventing infection. And even things like hand sanitizer and alcohol wipes. Think about it. No hospitals, maybe no antibiotics. Prevention is everything. Keeping wounds clean, washing hands, cleaning cooking utensils, soap is how you do it. It's not glamorous, but it's essential. Along with soap, include toothpaste, toothbrushes, and basic oral hygiene. You do not want a rotting tooth or abscess when there's no dentist. A $2 toothbrush and a tube of toothpaste could save you from agony. And yeah, maybe your life if an infection spreads. In normal times, we throw out half-used shampoo bottles and dollar store toothpaste without a thought. After collapse, hygiene items are precious commodities. Also consider diapers and wipes if you have little ones. Parents will trade a fortune for those when their baby is screaming and filthy. And toilet paper, oh, we'll get to that next. The bottom line, staying clean equals staying healthy. The value of something as simple as a bar of soap will skyrocket when the world plunges into filth. Stock up now, it basically costs nothing and will be worth everything later. Number 13, bleach and disinfectants. I touched on bleach earlier for water, but let's emphasize. Bleach, alcohol, and disinfectants are gold after a collapse. Why? Because injury or disease will kill off the unprepared faster than hunger in many cases. A cut that you could clean with alcohol and bandage now might become a fatal infection if you can't disinfect it. Preppers store unscented bleach by the gallon, plus learn to make bleach solution from pool shock. They also gather rubbing alcohol, 70% plus is best for disinfection, hydrogen peroxide, antibiotic ointments, and even vinegar, a decent mild disinfectant, in bulk. These items are a dime a dozen now. You can fill a cart at Walmart with bleach and Lysol wipes and alcohol for a few bucks. But after society crumbles, everyone will suddenly realize they need to sanitize water, surfaces, wounds, toilets, you name it. And they'll have none. Cue the panic. That's when your extra gallon of Clorox or your case of alcohol prep pads becomes priceless. People will trade food, ammo, whatever, for cleaning supplies when sickness is stalking their kids. And look, we've seen it. Remember the early COVID days when cleaning wipes and Purell vanished? Exactly. Now imagine that panic times 1,000, with no resupply coming. You do not want to be without disinfectants. Bodies might not be picked up, trash will pile, water will get contaminated. It's a disease breeding ground. If you can keep your area clean, you're ahead of the game. So stock those bleach bottles, rotate them, as liquid bleach loses potency after approximately 1 year, or better, have pool shock to mix fresh. Grab big bottles of generic unscented bleach now for pennies. Grab bleach powder, alcohol, etc. They'll never be as cheap as today. Post-collapse, a cup of bleach could mean the difference between a survivable community and a plague zone. Mark my words, cleanliness is survival. Number 14, feminine hygiene products. Let's talk about something half the population will desperately need, even when everything falls apart. Feminine hygiene. Pads, tampons, menstrual cups, these will be critical for women's health and dignity. It's not often discussed in survival forums by mostly male preppers, but smart preparedness folks absolutely stock these if they or their loved ones need them. In normal times, you walk into any drugstore and there's an entire aisle of this stuff. Post-collapse, that aisle is going to be ransacked on day one, and then it's gone. Imagine being a woman with no access to proper sanitary products. Not only is it uncomfortable and messy, it's a potential hygiene disaster. Reusable options like menstrual cups or washable cloth pads can be a saving grace, and I recommend having them. But not everyone knows about those or has them. So even disposable pads and tampons become priceless. If you're a male prepper, don't overlook this. These products can be incredible barter items, and more importantly, if you have women in your group or family, you better believe they'll need a supply. Think about morale and mental health too. Even in collapse, some normalcy is essential. For a woman, having her sanitary needs taken care of brings a bit of dignity in chaos. Preppers often buy extra packs of pads and tampons. They're cheap now. Store indefinitely if kept dry. In a trading scenario, you could practically write your own ticket swapping these to someone in need. It might seem like a small thing now, but trust me, post-collapse, a box of tampons could be as valuable as a box of ammunition. This is about basic human comfort and cleanliness. Ignore it at your peril. Experienced preppers certainly don't. Number 15. Toilet paper. Ah, the classic cliché of prepping. Toilet paper. Remember the great toilet paper shortage of 2020? People literally brawled in stores over TP packs. That was during a relatively mild crisis. In a true collapse, toilet paper will be one of the first things gone and one of the most sought-after comforts afterward. Now, will a lack of TP directly kill you? Probably not. Humans survived for millennia without Charmin. But let's be real. Toilet paper is about sanitation and morale. There's a reason even jaded preppers smile about storing TP. It's cheap, lightweight, and you'll always need it. Sure, you can use leaves or phone books or wash with water, but none are as convenient and hygienic as good old toilet paper. In a grid-down world, proper waste management becomes a nightmare fast. If people can't clean themselves, disease spreads. TP helps keep things clean and dry. Preppers stockpile those big 48-roll packs in the attic or closet, because why not? It costs next to nothing, and you know you'll use it eventually. In a collapse, a single roll of toilet paper will be a luxury item. It's the kind of thing you don't miss until it's gone, and then you'd trade a silver coin or a meal just for a few rolls. We saw a glimpse of that already. Now think long-term. If supply chains don't return, what then? Folks will get desperate and creative. Cloth rags they have to wash, etc. But if you have a stock of TP, you're sitting pretty. It sounds funny, but it's true. One of the biggest morale boosts in a tough situation is as simple as staying clean after using the bathroom. Do not underestimate that psychological comfort. So yeah, laugh now if you want, but the value of toilet paper post-collapse will be no joke. Number 16. Trash bags. Heavy duty. Garbage collection is one of those invisible comforts of modern life. Post-collapse, trash is everyone's problem. Trash bags, especially the tough, heavy-duty contractor kind, will be like black gold. Here's why. You'll need them for a million things, and they won't be being made or shipped anymore. Obvious use, containing garbage and human waste to keep pests and disease down. You do not want rotting trash, or worse, piling up near your shelter. A good sturdy trash bag seals it off and can be buried or stored far away. But beyond that, trash bags are a prepper's multi-tool. Cut them open for a large sheet of plastic. Makeshift rain poncho, shelter roofing, ground cover to keep you dry, even an improvised solar still for water. Fill them with leaves or clothes, and you've got a makeshift bed or insulation. Use them to keep gear dry when you stash it. Use them as an emergency toilet liner in a 5-gallon bucket, absolutely crucial for sanitation if plumbing is gone. Right now, you probably have a box or two under the sink and think nothing of it. Those same bags, post-collapse, become indispensable. They're lightweight to store. A box of contractor bags costs maybe $20 today and holds dozens of bags. Each one of those bags might trade for serious goods when everyone else is living in filth. Preppers often vacuum seal and stash extra bags just because they're so useful. It's a humble item, but think of how absolutely miserable it would be to have leaking garbage or no way to stay dry when it rains because you lack a simple plastic sheet. A heavy-duty bag can do all that and more. When society goes down, the simplest items gain insane value, and trash bags are a prime example. Cheap now, priceless later. Number 17. Lighters and matches. Fire is life. In a collapse, you can't just flip a thermostat or press a button on the stove. You need fire for warmth, cooking, sterilization, everything. That's why lighters and matches will be worth their weight in gold. Right now, disposable lighters are so common, they're practically litter. You can buy a big pack of Bic lighters for a few bucks. Post-collapse, a single working lighter will be a treasure. Imagine it. Nights are cold, you have food to cook or water to boil, and no way to start a fire. Rubbing sticks together is not what you want to be doing when your family is shivering. Preppers hoard lighters like mad, dozens and dozens of them. Why not? They're cheap and last years. Same with matches. Those strike-anywhere matches, or better yet, storm-proof matches that light even when wet, are crucial. Today, people might use a lighter for a barbecue or to light a candle and think nothing of it. In a collapsed world, a reliable flame on demand is an incredible luxury. It gives you heat, cooked food, safe water, protection, animals fear fire, and psychological comfort. I guarantee you, within days of a power grid failure, every lighter will vanish from store shelves, every matchbook gone. Smokers will take a bunch, survival-minded folks the rest. If you have extras, trust me, you can barter them at a premium. One little lighter could trade for a meal or more when someone can't get their fire started. And they're so portable, you could carry a dozen in your pocket to trade on the go. Preppers also invest in ferro rods and magnesium fire starters. We'll talk about those next, for long term. But nothing beats the instant flame of a Bic lighter. Stock up on them now, they practically never go bad. And stash heaps of matches in waterproof containers. Fire is non-negotiable, and those who can spark it easily will have a huge edge. Number 18. Ferro rods and fire starters. Redundancy is rule #1 in survival. 1 is none, 2 is 1. So beyond lighters and matches, serious preppers have ferrocerium rods, magnesium blocks, flint and steel kits, various fire starters that don't rely on fuel or one-time use. A ferro rod, the kind you scrape with a steel striker to shower sparks, will light thousands of fires and works even when wet. It's a small item now. Camping stores sell them for under $20. But post-collapse, a single ferro rod is a lifetime of fire in your pocket. Talk about value. Same goes for magnesium bars. You scrape magnesium shavings and spark them. Burn super hot to ignite damp tinder. These are tools most regular folks have zero clue about. But preppers quietly stash a bunch. Not just for themselves, but as incredible trade goods. Picture some desperate soul who's used up their last lighter or whose matches got soaked in the rain. They can't make a fire to save their life. You produce a ferro rod and show them how to use it. Mind blown. It's like you handed them Prometheus's flame. How much do you think they'd pay or trade for it? A lot. Plus, unlike lighters or matches, a quality ferro rod can last years, lighting fire after fire. That's vital for long-term survival. So beyond just having them to barter, you absolutely need one for your own use. Lighters will eventually run out or leak, matches will be gone. But a ferro rod will keep striking sparks long after. Preppers often keep one on a necklace or in every bag just in case. And let's not forget char cloth or other tinder. It helps to have stuff that catches a spark easily. But you can always find natural tinder. The key is having that spark source. In normal times, hardly anyone carries a ferro rod, except Boy Scouts or hardcore campers. After collapse, those who do will hold a critical key to survival. The ability to create fire at will, that power is priceless. Number 19. Warm clothing and blankets. You don't truly appreciate warm clothing until you're huddled in the cold with no heat. Post-collapse, winter, or even a chilly night will kill the unprepared just as surely as hunger. Warm, rugged clothing will be absolutely essential. We're talking coats, wool sweaters, thermal underwear, wool socks, insulated boots, gloves, beanies, the works. And heavy-duty blankets, especially wool or thermal blankets. Those shiny emergency Mylar blankets, too. In normal life, many Americans are spoiled by central heating. They don't think about how to stay warm if it's 20 degrees Fahrenheit and there's no power. Preppers do. We stock extra blankets, old military surplus wool ones or modern alternatives, and have clothing that layers well. Because here's the reality: cotton kills in cold, wet conditions. It doesn't insulate when wet. Wool and synthetics rule. If you're stuck in an unheated home or out in the elements, proper clothing is your first line of defense. After a collapse, stores won't be open to sell you that 0-degree rated sleeping bag or parka. What's on your back and in your closet is what you've got, possibly for a long time. So items like quality boots with spare laces, heavy coats, and sturdy work clothes become extremely valuable as they wear out or as people flee without adequate gear. Imagine masses of evacuees in temperate zones. Many will be caught with just a light jacket if it was mild when they left. Then weather turns, and they're freezing. If you have extra jackets, hats, gloves, those become life-saving trade goods. Also, baby it's cold means high demand for firewood. But not everyone will have proper attire to go cut wood or endure winter nights. Preppers often hit thrift stores for wool clothing and stock up, knowing it might be gold later. A single wool blanket could trade for food or ammo when someone's desperate to keep their child warm at night. So don't overlook this. Staying warm is not optional. Warm clothes and blankets might not seem priceless now when we have HVAC and Amazon, but in the cold, dark aftermath, they absolutely will be. Number 20, quality boots and footwear. This one deserves its own emphasis. Your feet are your lifeline. In a collapse, you will walk more, work more, and be on rough terrain. A sturdy pair of boots is going to be invaluable. Look at history: soldiers, pioneers, anyone on the move prized good footwear above almost all else. If your feet fail, you're done. Blisters, frostbite, trench foot, these are very real threats when you can't just drive everywhere and when conditions get nasty. Preppers invest in tough, broken-in work boots or hiking boots, plus spare shoes, even learning basic boot repair, like stitching and resoling if possible. In normal times, people blow money on fancy sneakers or flimsy fashion shoes that fall apart in months. Post-collapse, you'll want those heavy-duty leather boots, waterproof if possible, with good traction. They might be the difference between fleeing danger successfully or being literally stuck because your shoes gave out. And if you have extras in the right sizes, huge barter potential. Think of those who evacuate cities on foot. Many will be in totally inappropriate footwear: dress shoes, sandals, cheap tennis shoes. After a week of walking, those will be shredded along with their feet. A pair of decent boots from a surplus store, or just an old pair you had, could trade for food, fuel, anything. Even used boots will be fought over if they're better than nothing. Also, don't forget socks, wool socks especially. Dry, warm feet are life. Preppers stash lots of spare socks. They wear out and wet socks cause blisters and hypothermia. Right now, boots and socks are easily available. You can buy a great pair for a couple $100 or find deals secondhand. In a collapse, you can't put a price on them. A shoemaker or cobbler might reappear as an important profession because footwear becomes so critical. But why rely on finding one? Get your own durable boots and spares now. Your future self will thank you. And if you have to trade, a pair of boots might just fetch an astronomical value to someone in dire need. Number 21, work gloves and protective gear. In a collapsed world, you'll be doing a lot of manual labor: chopping wood, clearing debris, repairing shelter, scavenging scrap metal, tasks soft modern hands aren't used to. Work gloves will save your hands from debilitating blisters, cuts, and infections. A simple pair of heavy leather gloves or cut-resistant gloves is cheap today. But after the collapse, good luck finding a pair when yours wear out. Preppers keep multiple pairs because they know gloves will wear down with hard use. And without gloves, an injury to your hand could take you out of commission or let infection set in. Remember, no easy doctor visits. So a $5 pair of gloves now becomes priceless protection later. Similarly, consider protective eyewear. Dust, smoke, debris can ruin your eyes, and masks or respirators if air quality is bad. Fires, disease outbreaks. We all got a lesson in masks in 2020, and preppers already had N95s stockpiled. Post-collapse, if there are wildfires or pandemics, a simple N95 mask might be huge. But focusing on gloves, think of how many things you touch daily. Now imagine everything around you is broken, sharp, splintered, rusted. Clearing rubble or chopping wood without gloves. Enjoy your bloody, blistered hands and subsequent infections. Not smart. That's why preppers have boxes of nitrile gloves too for medical and dirty tasks, and tough work gloves for heavy jobs. In barter, handing someone a pair of durable gloves when they've been working bare-handed is like giving water to the thirsty. It's immediate relief and protection. I'd wager gloves will be a top trading item among survivors once existing supplies run low. Most people just don't stock them. But you will. Go to Home Depot now and buy a stack of quality gloves in various sizes. They basically don't expire, and you'll absolutely use them either way. Protecting your hands and body isn't optional when there's no hospital to fix you up. Gear up now, be grateful later. Number 22. Rain gear and ponchos. When it rains in normal times, you grab an umbrella or just dash to your car. In a collapse, you might be living in that rain. Hypothermia can kill even in moderate temperatures if you're wet and exposed. Rain gear, waterproof jackets, pants, ponchos, tarps, is a lifesaver. Preppers often include cheap, compact ponchos in their go bags because staying dry equals staying alive. Those disposable ponchos you see at sports games, those will be snatched up quick when folks are caught outside in downpours without shelter. A good military surplus poncho that can double as a shelter is even better. Right now, rain gear is abundant. You can get a decent waterproof coat at any store. Post-collapse, it's going to be a critical commodity. Imagine walking 20 miles in the rain with your only clothes on your back. You'll be soaked, cold, and a prime candidate for hypothermia by nightfall. Now imagine you have a poncho in your pack. You stay mostly dry, your core temperature stays up, and you can even rig that poncho into a tent to keep sleeping area dry. That's a huge advantage. People who underestimate the elements are going to suffer. If you have spare ponchos or rain jackets, you can bet others will want them desperately when the weather turns foul. Preppers also carry trash bags, as mentioned, that can serve as impromptu rain covers. But proper rain gear is much better. And don't forget waterproof boots, or at least wax for your boots, because wet feet are hell. A nice Gore-Tex jacket that's a luxury now could become armor against nature's assault later. If you live in a dry region, you might think less about this, but even desert nights get cold, and sometimes rain comes when you least expect. So cover your bases. Waterproof your gear, spray coatings, have rainwear for each family member. In bartering, a vinyl poncho might trade for food from someone shivering and drenched. Bottom line, staying dry keeps you alive and healthy. Rain gear is cheap insurance now and will be priceless protection after the fall. Number 23, tarps and plastic sheeting. A good tarp is like a Swiss Army knife in material form. You can use tarps or heavy plastic sheeting for nearly anything. Patching a roof, covering broken windows, improvising a tent, collecting rainwater, wrapping a makeshift stretcher, you name it. Pre-collapse, tarps are those blue things you see at hardware stores for $20, mostly used by campers or to cover a boat. Post-collapse, a single tarp can mean the difference between sleeping dry under shelter or being exposed to the elements. If a storm blows part of your roof away, you're not calling a roofer. You're grabbing that tarp to keep the rain out. If you need a quick shelter, a tarp and some paracord, we'll get to cordage soon, lets you rig a canopy or lean-to in minutes. Preppers usually have multiple tarps in different sizes, and rolls of heavy plastic sheeting too, clear plastic, 4 or 6 mil, from the paint aisle. Why plastic rolls? Because you can seal up windows, quarantine sick areas, create solar stills, build a greenhouse for plants, endless uses. After collapse, spare building materials won't exactly be at hand. A tarp or plastic sheet is lightweight and can transform a wrecked structure into a livable one. Also, if someone in your group gets sick or dies, plastic sheeting can literally be life-saving to quarantine or wrap bodies to prevent disease spread. That got dark, but it's reality. Right now, tarps are trivial. You toss one over your lawnmower in rain, but later, those who have them can weather storms, keep gear dry, and just generally adapt better. In trade, a tarp will be huge. People always underestimate their shelter needs until they're soaking wet or sunburnt or freezing. Then they'll trade away valuables for a piece of plastic to cover themselves. Preppers won't be the ones in that line because they've got it handled. Tarps, cheap now, survival gold later. Number 24, duct tape. You knew this was coming. Duct tape fixes everything, right? It's a joke in normal times, but post-collapse, it's not far from truth. This humble gray roll of tape will be a miracle resource. You can use duct tape to repair torn shelter materials, patch up clothing or shoes, splint a broken tent pole, or even improvise medical fixes. There are stories of people using duct tape as emergency bandages or to close wounds in a pinch. Need to fix a leak in a water container? Duct tape. Need to reseal a food bag? Duct tape. Need to make a rope? Twist duct tape into cords. In a world with no hardware store, being able to jury-rig solutions is everything, and duct tape is the king of jury-rigging. Preppers stash multiple rolls, including the heavy-duty Gorilla Tape type, because 1 or 2 rolls will run out quick if you're actually using them for survival tasks daily. Right now, duct tape is almost a cliché, sitting in your junk drawer. But that one near-full roll in your house will get used up fast when you're trying to keep your life together with tape and string. Once it's gone, you'll desperately want more. Everyone will. I guarantee that in any post-collapse trading post, duct tape, even partial rolls, will be snapped up instantly. It's basically the closest thing to a universal repair kit. In World War II, they called it 100 miles per hour tape because it held ammo cans sealed and even fixed aircraft temporarily. That's the pedigree. So yeah, if you don't have at least a half dozen rolls in your prep stash, you're not paying attention. It's dirt cheap now. Stock up. After collapse, you'll be Mr. Fix-It with your tape supply, and people will come begging, "Hey, can I get a few feet of tape to fix my whatever?" Sure. What are you offering in trade? Because it's valuable. Duct tape. Don't leave home without it, seriously. Number 25, paracord and rope. Following on fixing and building, cordage is critical. Good luck building a shelter, snaring game, climbing, or lashing gear without some kind of rope or cord. Experienced preppers swear by 550 paracord that stuff is lightweight, super strong, rated for 550 pounds, and versatile. Has multiple inner strands you can pull out for finer tasks. You can get a 100-foot roll for under $10 today. In a collapse, that 100 feet of paracord might as well be 24K gold wire for how valuable it'll be. Need to secure a tarp? Paracord. Need to lower supplies down a cliff or pull someone out of a hole? Rope. Need to make a fishing line or sew a tear? Pull the inner threads out of paracord. It does everything. Preppers also save other types of rope. Thick towing rope, nylon straps, bungee cords, wire, anything to tie, bind, or lift. Why? Because once society breaks, you can't just run to Ace Hardware for another 50 feet of clothesline. What you have is it, and you'll use a ton of it, trust me. Think of all the small things. Tying down gear on your vehicle or cart, hanging up clothes to dry, making a perimeter tripwire with cans for an early warning, even flossing your teeth. Yep, some inner cord strands can do that. Cordage was so valuable historically that expeditions and ships always carried extra, and sailors unraveled old ropes to reuse fibers. You'll see the same desperation if things fall apart. People will attempt to use electrical cords or phone chargers as rope because they didn't stock the real stuff. Don't be that guy. Have spools of paracord, rolls of bank line, maybe even steel cable if you anticipate heavy hauling. They're cheap now. And if you have extra, oh boy, you'll be a popular trader. We'll trade food for rope. That ad will be everywhere because someone always needs more rope. It's one of those overlooked things until it's needed. In a pinch, cordage might even substitute for binding wounds or splints if you run out of medical tape. It's just endlessly useful. So yes, rope and paracord, an absolute must in your prep arsenal and a post-collapse hard currency of its own. Number 26, axes and hatchets. When the chainsaws run out of gas and the grid is down, you revert to old-school woodcutting. A sturdy axe or hatchet instantly becomes one of the most valuable tools around. Firewood for heat, building materials for shelter, even self-defense, all can involve an axe. Preppers typically have a full-size felling axe to chop trees and a smaller hatchet or hand axe for kindling and smaller tasks. Now, in our comfy modern life, an axe is almost a novelty item or something a lumberjack has. Post-collapse, everyone and their mother will be scrambling for one when they realize they need to burn wood to stay warm or cook, and all they have is a dull little camp hatchet, or nothing. If you have a quality axe, think Helco, Gransfors Brooks, or even a solid hardware store model sharpened well, you hold the means to process infinite energy from wood and to build things. That's serious power. Preppers also know to keep a couple of spare axe heads or at least a file to sharpen, because a blunt axe is dangerous and inefficient. Mark this: forests aren't going anywhere, and wood will always be there to use, but only if you can cut it. After a collapse, chainsaws might work for a while if you have fuel, but as that fades, the humble axe reclaims its throne. During the pioneer days, a good axe was a prized possession, often passed down generations. We'll be right back to that mentality. If you have extra hatchets or axes, you better lock them up or hide them, because people might steal or fight for them once they realize how crucial they are. In barter, an axe for a desperate family cold at night. You could pretty much ask for the moon and get it. But honestly, you'll need yours and a spare, so don't plan on giving it away unless you have multiple. Learn to use it safely now, too. A cut leg from a wayward axe swing could kill you later. But in competent hands, an axe is worth more than diamonds when the lights go out and winter comes howling. Number 27. Hand saws. Alongside the axe comes the hand saw. Need to fell smaller trees or saw planks to build a barricade or repair a door? A good bow saw, cross-cut saw, or folding saw is worth its weight in gold. Why not use the axe for everything? Because saws are often more efficient and precise for certain tasks, like cutting boards or notches or bucking logs to length. Preppers invest in things like a silky big boy folding saw for portability or an old-fashioned two-man cross-cut saw for serious lumber work, plus spare blades. In everyday life, most people have maybe a rusty hacksaw in the garage, if that. Post-collapse, when folks scavenge scrap wood to burn or build, a saw will be a game changer. Ever tried to cut a 2x4 with just an axe? It's a pain and wastes energy. With a saw, much easier. Now think bigger. Clearing fallen trees from a road, building a wooden defensive wall or makeshift bridge, crafting furniture or tools. You'll need saws for all of it. Battery-powered tools will be useless when their batteries die and there's no recharging. Gas chainsaws, too, once fuel's gone. But a sharp manual saw keeps on going. Preppers often learn basic carpentry and saw sharpening skills for this reason. A saw blade will dull, and you can't exactly get new ones easily later, so have a saw file and know how to set teeth. Right now, hand saws are cheap. Nobody wants them in the age of DeWalt power tools. Grab a few different types: a bow saw for logs, a fine-tooth saw for lumber, a hacksaw for metal maybe. They'll pay dividends. In barter, a spare saw or even loaning your saw services could net you big returns. Picture a group trying to fortify their location but only having crude tools. You come with a proper saw and save them days of labor. You think they won't repay you generously? They will. Also, consider wire saws, the pocket chainsaw type. Small, not as durable, but good backups. Bottom line, cutting wood and materials is fundamental. An efficient way to do it equals massive advantage, making the humble hand saw an unsung hero that will become extremely valuable after the collapse. Number 28. Knife, fixed blade survival knife. Knives are the foundation of survival tools. Sure, everyone has kitchen knives, but I mean a quality survival knife. A fixed-blade, full-tang knife that can handle heavy use. In a collapse, a knife is your constant companion for preparing food, cutting cord, carving tools, cleaning game, self-defense, prying things open, and on and on. Preppers often carry one daily even now, on the belt or in the bag, because it's that useful. After the collapse, a good knife will be priceless. If someone doesn't have one, They'll desperately need one, and quickly realize every cheapo kitchen blade breaks when batoning wood or every folding knife wiggles apart under stress. You want a solid, no-nonsense blade. Think K-Bar, Moraniv, EC, Gerber, LMF, etc. Right now, you can pick one up easily online or at a sporting goods store. After SHTF, knives will be hot commodities and could even become a form of currency. Imagine trading a spare knife for a week's worth of food or medicine. It could happen because a knife is essentially the tool that makes other survival tasks possible. Preppers typically have multiple: a big chopper or medium all-purpose blade, maybe a smaller companion knife for fine tasks, and they keep them sharp. Whetstones and sharpeners, by the way, also become vital. A dull knife is dangerous and useless. People who don't prepare might have some crappy $5 kitchen knife or a dollar store folding knife that snaps under pressure. Good luck to them. Meanwhile, you'll be cutting through anything like butter with your sharpened 1095 high-carbon steel blade. Also, consider multi-use. Some survival knives have fire starter rods in the sheath or hollow handles with kits, though beware flimsy gimmicks. Simpler is usually stronger. In trade, any decent knife will go quick. Everyone suddenly wants one when they realize it's key to survival, but by then stores are empty. So, like everything else, get it now. And get a multi-tool too. That's coming next. But trust me, few things will be as universally valuable as a proper knife once modern conveniences vanish. Don't leave home without it, and if you have spares, you hold great bargaining power. Number 29 multi-tool, Leatherman Gerber. If a fixed-blade knife is the king, a good multi-tool is the queen of survival tools. Those fancy fold-out pliers with screwdrivers, can openers, saw blades, files, etc. All in one pocket-sized package. Yeah, those. A Leatherman Wave or a Gerber multiplier or Swiss Army knife, the beefy ones, can perform dozens of tasks. In a world with no electricians or plumbers on call, you'll be fixing your own gear, and a multi-tool is a portable toolbox. Preppers love these things. They carry them daily or have them in every bag because they are insanely useful. Now, most average folks might have a junk drawer multi-tool or a little keychain Swiss Army, but when the collapse hits, the person with a quality multi-tool becomes MacGyver. Need to cut wire? Pliers do it. Tighten a screw? Screwdriver bit on hand. Open cans? Built-in can opener, in case your regular one fails. The list goes on. It's the ultimate contingency tool. After collapse, these will fly off store shelves, and there aren't that many to begin with compared to demand. If you have a spare multi-tool, you can trade at a premium to someone who suddenly finds they need to repair a generator or build something and lack the proper tools. It might seem like a luxury item now, nice to have, but you have full toolkits at home, right? But you won't be lugging a full toolbox if you're on foot or having to move. A multi-tool on your belt, though, you'll use it daily. Preppers know the value and make sure to get reputable brands. Cheap ones will snap, or the knife blade will be dull garbage. Also, consider a sharpening stone or device, because those little blades need love too after heavy use. I promise you, in a barter situation, flashing a multi-tool and showing all its functions to a non-prepper will have them wide-eyed like you showed them magic. It's almost unfair, the advantage it gives you in versatility. In short, one multi-tool equals pliers, screwdrivers, knife, file, saw, opener, all in one. If that doesn't scream priceless after collapse, I don't know what does. Number 30, sewing kit and repair supplies. Here's one many overlook. When your clothes tear and wear out, how will you fix or replace them? Post-collapse, you're not hitting the mall for new jeans. Sewing kits, needles, durable thread like nylon or upholstery thread, patches, safety pins, even a bit of duct tape will be worth a fortune. Preppers include sewing items because they plan to make clothes last. A tiny $2 kit now, needles, little spool of thread, could save your literal hide later. Think about it. You're trekking through woods. Your only pair of good pants snags and rips wide open. If you can't sew that up, you're exposing skin to bugs, cold, sun, no good. And shoes, know how to do a basic stitch or improvise a lace? You better. A leather awl, some heavy thread, even fishing line can sew up boots and packs. Preppers often tuck away heavy-duty canvas needles, extra buttons, zippers, and maybe some fabric or leather scraps. It's not glamorous, but when everyone's clothing starts falling apart after months of hard living, the person who can mend and make do is king. I guarantee you a skilled tailor or cobbler will be in high demand in any survivor community. But even at a basic level, just being able to patch your own gear keeps you in the fight. In barter, if you have extra needles and thread, oh man, those are super small and will disappear from stores immediately. A single needle might trade for food if someone needs to suture a wound or fix crucial gear. Yep, needles can double for medical suturing in dire times. Sterilize first. And thread, everyone forgets thread. That spool that costs $1 now might be priceless when there's none to be had. So get a bunch. Cotton thread for light stuff, nylon for heavy, even dental floss can work as strong thread. And include things like a knife sharpening kit in this category of repair items, because maintaining tools is as important as fixing clothes. But clothing-wise, good luck weaving new cloth when society's collapsed. Better keep what you have intact. Sewing kit is tiny, weightless, and invaluably huge when needed. Trust me, the day you pop a button or split a seam and can fix it on the spot, you'll feel like a genius. And others will view you as one too, willing to trade to get their stuff fixed. It's a small prep that yields big results. Number 31, fishing gear. Now we shift to food procurement. When the store meat counter is a distant memory, many will turn to hunting and fishing. Fishing gear will be especially priceless because waterways will still be full of protein if you know how to get it. A simple fishing rod, a reel, hooks, line, weights, lures, even just a roll of line and a handful of hooks if you need to travel light, can feed you indefinitely. Preppers in areas with lakes or rivers always keep fishing kits. Right now, fishing tackle is everywhere, relatively cheap. After a collapse, I assure you every hook and sinker will be snapped up. Think of the masses who've never fished. They'll be fumbling with primitive spears or their hands, probably failing. If you have a rod and the know-how, you have a renewable food source. A tackle box of assorted hooks and lures that costs $50 today might let you haul in hundreds of meals from streams and ponds post-collapse. That is beyond value. Plus, extra gear means barter. Trade some hooks and line to someone for other supplies, or trade fish you catch, since you'll be one of the few who can reliably catch any. Consider also fish nets, seines, or trot lines, passive fishing methods to catch multiple fish while you do other things. Those with foresight will set up fish traps and nets to maximize catch. Most people won't have thought of that. Preppers do. Also, keep small hooks for catching little fish, which can be bait for big fish or food themselves, and some strong line for big catches. Out in the countryside, ponds and rivers may become literal lifesavers. In the city, maybe not, but urban folks near coasts will try fishing the ocean, etc. So gear up accordingly if that's you. If you've got a portable fishing kit in your bug-out bag and others don't, guess who's eating fresh fish while they gnaw on slim rations? Exactly. And a quick note, learn how to clean and preserve fish now. Smoke, salt, dry. Because you may catch more than you can eat at once. That's a good problem to have post-collapse, and prepared folks will maximize it. All because they had some unassuming hooks and line ready to go. Gear that up now for peanuts. Later, it'll be priceless for feeding yourself and trading protein to others. Number 32, hunting and trapping equipment, non-firearm. Guns and ammo are coming up, but let's talk silent hunting. Collapse scenario. Game animals will get hunted hard, and ammo might be scarce. Having alternative hunting tools can save your bacon. For example, a quality compound bow, recurve bow, or crossbow can take down game quietly, and arrows are reusable. Preppers who bow hunt now will be a step ahead. Bows are a bit of an advanced skill, but even a halfway decent archer can bag a deer or rabbits with practice. Right now, bows and crossbows are relatively easy to buy. After collapse, they'll be snatched up or priceless heirlooms. Then there's trapping, wire snares, conibear traps, live traps. These work 24/7 catching critters while you do other tasks. A roll of snares, or just some strong wire or even paracord for improvised snares, is tiny in your kit but can net you rabbits, squirrels, etc. daily. Preppers often keep spools of snare wire for this reason. If you've never trapped, learn some basics. It's an art, but it works, and it doesn't waste ammo. Also, consider slingshots, not a toy. A good wrist rocket slingshot with steel ball bearings or even rocks can take small game quietly. Slingshots are cheap now. $20 can get a good one with a bunch of ammo. Post-collapse, a stealthy way to kill a pigeon or squirrel for dinner without alerting everyone with a gunshot, is golden. Why non-firearm? Because sometimes you don't want noise attracting others or scaring game. Also, you can run out of bullets, but a bow or trap works as long as animals exist. In trade, a spare crossbow or a pile of snare wire would fetch a lot from someone who's starving but sees rabbits everywhere. Also, think about spears or gigs for frogs and fish in shallow water. Simple pole with a barbed point. Preppers might have those around too. A frog gig head costs a few bucks now. All these primitive hunting methods will make a comeback big time. Many won't have a clue how to do it. A prepared person will fill that niche. Food is survival currency number one. If you can reliably get meat while others can't, you basically have power. So gear up with more than just guns. Bows, traps, slingshots, even a high-powered air rifle, for birds and small game quietly, could be insanely useful. Overlook them now, and you'll regret it when the forest goes silent from gunfire and the animals hide. Number 33. Firearms for security and hunting. Now let's hit the big one. Guns. In a collapse, when law and order go bye-bye, a firearm in trained hands is the ultimate force multiplier. It deters looters, protects your loved ones, and can also hunt game far more efficiently than primitive means if ammo allows. Preppers often have a primary defensive rifle, like an AR-15 or AK-47, a shotgun, and a handgun at minimum. They know that when things fall apart, the rule of the jungle returns. You can be a pacifist if you want, but mark my words, armed gangs or desperate individuals won't hesitate to take what's yours if you can't defend it. A gun in your hand and the skill to use it is priceless. Right now, firearms are readily available to most Americans, depending on laws. Post-collapse, if you didn't get one beforehand, you're out of luck or paying through the nose on the black market. Guns become one of the top commodities when people realize security is on them now. Even an old .22 or a single-shot shotgun is better than nothing, both for defense and putting food on the table. A .22 can take small game quietly with subsonic rounds. A shotgun is versatile for birds, deer, anything at close range. The key is reliability and common caliber. Preppers choose guns that don't break easily and use popular ammo, .22 LR, 9mm, 223/5.56, 12 gauge, .308, etc., so they can find or trade for more. In many historical collapses, a firearm was literally life or death. And think about deterrence. If you and your community are armed and some looters come, they'll think twice, or not live to regret it. If you're unarmed, you're an easy target. Now, firearms are obviously tools that require responsibility and training. Get that training now. The last thing you want is to be fumbling with a safety or dealing with a malfunction in a crisis. Preppers practice. As for value, a single handgun that costs $500 today could command a fortune in trade after collapse, but honestly, most preppers wouldn't trade a gun away. It's too vital. They'd rather trade with the protection of their gun on their hip. Bottom line, in a collapsed America, firearms put the odds in your favor. They are great equalizers. If you don't have one, you're at the mercy of those who do, and mercy might be in short supply. Arm yourself wisely ahead of time. Number 34. Ammunition. A gun without ammo is just a club. Ammo will be one of the most insanely valuable things post-collapse. Every bullet fired is one less in existence with no easy way to replace it once factories shut down. Preppers stockpile ammo deep, not only for their own use, training, defense, hunting, but because they know ammo will become currency. History shows cigarettes and bullets often take the place of money in war zones and collapses. Each common caliber round, say a 9mm cartridge or a .223 rifle round, could be worth a lot in trade, especially as time goes on and shortages bite. People will measure wealth in piles of brass and lead. Now, some might attempt to reload ammo if they have supplies, but eventually primers, powder run out too. So what's out there, is it? I strongly suspect ammo will actually hold value better than gold in a long-term crisis, because you can't shoot someone or hunt dinner with gold. Preppers stash not just what they need, but extra common calibers for barter. Even if you don't own a .22 rifle, having a few thousand .22 LR rounds stored could allow you to trade with someone who does. Those little .22s can take game quietly, and people burn through them fast. Same with shotgun shells. 12-gauge especially. Very versatile. Also, .22 ammo is often called the coin of the realm in survival scenarios because it's small, lightweight, and everyone recognizes it. It's like having a pocket full of useful, deadly nickels. Right now, ammo is still available, though we saw shortages recently. Prices go up and down, but you can still acquire plenty. In collapse, the shelves will be empty in a flash. The unprepared might literally kill for ammo later on. If someone's defending their home and runs out of bullets, they'll give almost anything for a reload. It's dramatic but true. That box of 50 rounds of 9mm you leave in your closet now? Later it might trade for a month's food, easily. But ideally, keep it for your own security. Tip: store ammo in cool, dry places, ammo cans with desiccant, so it lasts decades. And never advertise your stash. Ammo is like a magnet for desperate thieves if they know you have it. Quietly build it up, and you will have one of the post-collapse world's most precious commodities in hand. Number 35, hand crank or solar radio. Information is power, especially in a crisis. When the internet and TV stations go dark, a humble battery, solar, or crank-powered radio could be your only link to the outside world. Preppers almost universally include a NOAA emergency radio in their kits. Those little devices that can get AM, FM, and weather band. Some with built-in solar panels or hand cranks, so they don't even need batteries. Right now, people hardly use radios except maybe in the car. In a collapse, governments or remaining authorities will likely broadcast emergency info via radio if they can. And if not, you'll want to scan for any signals from other survivors or news from afar. The psychological benefit of hearing a human voice or some music when you're otherwise isolated is huge too. So the radio becomes priceless for both intel and morale. If you have a spare, think of trading one to a community that has none. They'd probably part with a lot to get it. Those crank radios that also have a flashlight and can charge a phone a bit? Gold. The Department of Homeland Security and FEMA often recommend every household have an emergency radio. You listening to that advice now? Many don't, of course. Preppers do. After collapse, folks will be sitting in silence, totally blind to what's happening beyond their immediate area. Not you. You'll be turning that crank or letting the sun juice up your radio's battery and gathering crucial information. Weather alerts, storms, fallout plumes if it was nuclear, etc., where relief might be found, if any exists, or conversely where danger is, riots, fires. You might even catch ham radio operators or clandestine stations giving survival tips or organizing. If you're the only one with a radio, you become the news hub for your neighbors, which is powerful. They'll trade food, protection, whatever, for access to what you hear. We take instant communication for granted now. Losing it is a massive shock. A radio is a little island of connectivity in that sea of unknown. It's relatively cheap today to get a decent one, $30, $60. After collapse, you could not put a price on it. It might literally save your life by warning you of something or leading you to safety. So yes, get an emergency radio now. That's Prepper 101, and stash an extra or two in Faraday cages if you're worried about EMPs. You'll be so glad you did when silence falls and you still have a lifeline. Number 36, two-way radios, walkie-talkies. Staying on comms. In a dangerous world, keeping in contact with your family or group is vital. Walkie-talkies, FRS, GMRS radios, or more powerful ham radios if licensed, let you coordinate and stay safer. Preppers often hand out handheld radios to group members for security patrols or when foraging. In normal times, these are kids' toys or used by paintballers, hikers, etc. Post-collapse, they become strategic equipment. Imagine you're out scavenging and your spouse is back at base. Without radios, you're in the dark about each other's status. With radios, you can warn someone's coming, or, I found supplies all good instantly. Or, during a defense scenario, your team can flank looters and communicate to coordinate, which is a massive tactical edge. Right now, bubble pack walkie-talkies are in every Walmart. People use them at malls or theme parks to keep track of kids sometimes. But most households don't have a set ready for emergencies. After the collapse, those little radios will be incredibly valuable, both to use and trade. A community that can set up a comm net with walkies will out-organize one that can't. Preppers often go further and get ham radios like the cheap Baofengs, $30 each now, for longer range and versatility. You can listen to police, etc., if they're still active, or talk to distant folks. If not licensed, you might not transmit pre-collapse, but after, who cares? All rules are off if it's life and death. Even a family with no technical knowledge can use basic FRS radios with a half-mile range to keep tabs on each other in the neighborhood. Security watch, hunting, running to a neighbor, all safer with comms. And consider off-grid communities. They'll relish having radios for internal comm. So if you have spares to trade, you'll do well. Just remember, power for them, batteries, is also needed. So either hand crank/solar chargers or rechargeable packs you can keep juiced with solar. We'll cover power soon. Communication means you're not alone, and that's priceless psychologically too. A pair of Motorola walkies costing $50 now could be lifesavers post-collapse. You can't dial 911, but you can call your buddy down the road to warn of danger or ask for help. Huge force multiplier. Get them, learn the channels, and you'll be miles ahead of the silent, isolated masses. Number 37, ham radio set, long-distance communication. Taking comms one step further, a ham radio transceiver, and the know-how to use it, can reach out miles or even worldwide under the right conditions. This is more advanced, but experienced preppers often are ham radio operators. In a long-term collapse, ham radio might be the last surviving communication web, run by hobbyists turned lifeline operators. With a proper ham radio, you could call for help far away, communicate with other survivor groups over big distances, or gather intel from hundreds of miles around. Right now, ham radio is a niche hobby, but it's one of those things that when all else fails, it's there. If you have a shortwave radio receiver at least, you can listen to ham broadcasts. That could be huge. Some emergency radios include shortwave bands. But having a transceiver, like a ham base station or a high-powered mobile unit, plus a good antenna, is golden. Post-collapse, hams with generators or solar will likely form an emergency network sharing news, coordinating relief, etc. If you're part of that, you won't be in the dark. Of course, ham radio requires a license now to transmit legally. But in a survival scenario, it's whatever the knowledge and equipment matter. Preppers who can have at least a basic license, technician class, and a rig are far ahead. They might even be the one that communities rely on to relay messages. I have relatives in another state. Can you reach anyone there? That kind of ability is immensely valuable. Even a portable ham like those Baofeng UV5Rs can hit local repeaters, if any power them or if someone sets up a makeshift one, or do line of sight over several miles. But to get real distance, you need HF radio, bigger setup. Not everyone can do that, but if you can, you're an information hub. In terms of trade value, a working ham radio rig and fuel solar to run it might be near priceless because it connects to the wider world. You could become the radio guy-gal of your area. Even governments in hiding might broadcast to ham operators. So yeah, this is a bit specialized, but I had to include it because preppers know how huge comms are. A community with a ham radio is in touch. One without is blind. Right now, the equipment is fairly accessible. After collapse, anyone who wants it and doesn't have it, good luck. You either take it from someone or do without. So get it if you can. It might make you the sole voice in the wilderness when darkness falls. Number 38, flashlights and lighting, off-grid. Ever been in a blackout at night? Multiply that by forever. Light becomes more than a convenience. It's security, scares off threats. Morale, psychologically calming. And functionality. Try fixing something in pitch dark. Flashlights, headlamps, and lanterns will be worth a fortune. Preppers have multiple LED flashlights and headlamps, plus portable lanterns for lighting rooms or camps. LEDs sip power compared to old bulbs, and that efficiency will count big when power is scarce. Right now, flashlights are everywhere, often super cheap at hardware stores. Post-collapse, those high-lumen tactical lights and even the humble flashlight in your drawer become treasured items. If you've ever been camping, you know how precious that headlamp is at midnight. Now imagine the whole world camping indefinitely. People will crave light to ward off fear, to work at night, to avoid injury. If you have a solar lantern or hand-crank flashlight, even better. No batteries needed or rechargeable by sun. Preppers might have those Goal Zero lanterns or old kerosene lamps as backups. Kerosene or oil lamps themselves will be valuable, but they need fuel. LED is safer if you can recharge batteries. So stock rechargeable batteries. We'll get to power next. A headlamp, light on your forehead, frees your hands. Huge for working at night. The average person might have one crappy flashlight with half-dead batteries. After a collapse, that dies in a day and they're in the dark. But you have spares, and maybe some decorative yard solar lights you can repurpose. Hot tip: those garden solar path lights can charge by day and give off a bit of light at night. Bring them indoors. In trade, a decent flashlight with some extra batteries will fetch a high price. It's basically giving someone the gift of sight in darkness. Hard to overstate the psychological impact of that. We take flipping a light switch for granted. After SHTF, night brings terror for many. You'll manage better with reliable illumination. Candles, too, store a bunch, but they're a fire hazard and finite. Flashlights and LED lanterns, though, can keep going if you have power for them. So do not skimp on light sources. Get quality ones now, waterproof, durable, and a bunch of cheap ones, too, for backup or barter. Because when the sun sets in Collapseville, you'll quickly see who prepared and who's fumbling in the dark. Light is life, and you can't have too much of it stashed away. Number 39. Batteries, rechargeable and alkaline. All these electronics, radios, flashlights, etc. need power. After the collapse, batteries become a finite, precious resource. Preppers stockpile lots of alkaline batteries, AA, AAA, D, etc. But more importantly, rechargeable batteries with solar chargers to keep them going. Right now, batteries are so common we barely think of them. Grab a pack off the shelf for your remote, whatever. In a grid-down scenario, every battery you have is like a unit of energy gold. Once an alkaline is drained, unless you have some crazy charger or method, it's done. So they'll be used sparingly. People who didn't store enough will tear apart smoke alarms or any device for batteries. You, on the other hand, will have a cache. A box of 100 AAs runs maybe $40 today. That could be an unthinkable luxury post-collapse. The advantage goes to those who invested in low self-discharge NIMH rechargeables, like Eneloops, and a solar charger. Preppers do this because it provides essentially a long-term supply of power for small devices. That means lights stay on, radios receive, etc., but even rechargeables eventually wear out, so extras matter. In barter, a fresh battery could trade for food easily. Think of someone with an electronic they'll really need. Maybe a medical device, a radio, an optic, but no batteries. They'll trade heavy for a few. Same with car batteries or deep cycle batteries, though those are heavy and more for a home power system. Those too are gold for off-grid solar setups, but let's stick to handheld battery talk here. Also, 12V batteries from cars might be repurposed to run things with inverters, etc., but that's more advanced. At minimum, stock masses of AAs, the most common cell for flashlights and gear, and some AA to D adapters so you can use AAs in D devices. Preppers love versatility like that. And don't forget CR123 or other cells if your devices use them, or better, standardize as much as possible. A battery cache doesn't have to break the bank now, but later on it will be literal currency. One could set up a charging station with solar and charge people's batteries for a fee trade as a service, too. Energy is life in modernish terms, and even after collapse, little pockets of energy, batteries, give you enormous advantages. So yes, pile them high now. They keep well. And you'll have one of the keys to the post-collapse kingdom when everyone else's lights go out for good. Number 40, solar chargers and panels. Let's expand on power, solar energy. When the grid's down indefinitely, the sun is your power plant. Even a small, foldable solar charger, the kind you use to charge phones or batteries, will be worth more than money. Preppers invest in solar panels of various sizes, from handheld 1030W panels to larger rooftop rigs with deep cycle batteries. But at minimum, a portable solar charger that can charge AA batteries or USB devices is a game changer. Right now, solar gadgets are somewhat niche but available. Post-collapse, they'll be like wizardry. Imagine everyone around has dead flashlights, dead radios, dead everything, and you unfold a panel in the sun and bam! You have power to recharge your lantern, your radio, maybe even a small battery pack to run a fan or charge a GPS. That's incredible power, literally and figuratively. A brand like Goal Zero or Jackery makes small solar kits and power banks that preppers love. Also, those solar generators, really just lithium battery packs with inverters, combined with panels can run bigger stuff like a small fridge or power tools for a while. If you have one of those, you're basically the power company now. People will bring devices to you begging for a charge, which you might trade for goods or favors. A modest 100W solar panel and a 12V battery could keep lights on and radios going indefinitely for you. As time goes on, any working solar equipment will be rarer and more valuable since no new electronics are being produced easily. Pre-collapse, they might say. Oh, those preppers with their solar panels. After collapse, they'll say, please, can I use your solar panel to charge my only flashlight? I'll give you food. That's how it will go. So yeah, solar is huge. Even the little solar garden lights I mentioned, or solar pathway lights, can be repurposed for a bit of night light. So don't throw those away. They'll be plucked from lawns by survivors, mark my words. The sun's not going anywhere, and harnessing it even a little puts you ahead. Preppers know every watt counts when none are coming from the wall. If you can, get a quality portable solar charger, 20W plus panel, and test it out. And if you can afford one, a Jackery or Goal Zero power bank with solar can keep essential electronics going, like medical devices, that could literally save someone's life. Talk about barter leverage. Solar gear might feel like an investment now, but after collapse, even a small panel is priceless freedom from the dark. Number 41. Generator, gas or propane, and fuel. In the early stages of a collapse, before fuel supplies are exhausted, or if you prepared fuel storage, a generator can keep critical systems alive. Preppers who can afford it often have a gasoline or dual fuel generator and fuel stabilizer treated gas stored safely, or propane tanks to run it. Right now, generators are common for power outages, noisy things you might hear humming after a storm. Post-collapse, they'll be both coveted and possibly dangerous. Noise draws attention. But their value is undeniable. They turn fuel into electricity, which can run fridges, well pumps, power tools, charge batteries, etc. If you have one and can operate discreetly, you could save a lot of food from spoiling and power gear. Fuel, however, is the choke point. Gasoline goes bad in months without stabilizer, and even then a couple years tops. Propane lasts indefinitely, so propane generators are attractive. Diesel keeps longer than gas, and diesel generators are workhorses. Plus, diesel is used by heavy equipment, so might be available from trucks. Preppers sometimes also have small inverter generators, quiet ones like Honda EU series, for stealthier use. Regardless, having one early on is huge. Neighbors will be knocking, "Can I put some food in your fridge?" Or, "Can you pump water from the well for us?" That's leverage or goodwill, depending how you play it. In trade, someone might give you a lot of supplies for a few hours on your generator to, say, charge a power tool to repair their roof or pump a tank of water. Now, as time goes on, fuel scarcity makes generators less useful unless you stored a lot or can obtain more, maybe by siphoning abandoned vehicles. Risky. Eventually, solar wins out for long term, but don't discount the immediate value of having electrical power when everything first goes down. It's a massive comfort and force multiplier. Pre-collapse, generators are a dime a dozen in stores. After, they'll be worth killing for. If you have one, guard it and hush it, build a sound dampening enclosure, etc. And store fuel safely. Nothing worse than running out because you didn't squirrel away enough stabilized gas. Also consider manual backup, like hand pumps for wells if generator fails. But no doubt, a running generator in a dead city is like a lighthouse. People will come. That shows how precious it is. Preppers who plan to use them know to enforce security or only run at certain times. As a trade item, an entire generator is probably too valuable to give up unless you have a spare. But fuel? Oh boy. A gallon of gas will be beyond price after a while. Folks with motorcycles, ATVs, or desperate generators will trade heavily for fuel. We saw just a hint of that in the 1970s gas shortages. This will be magnitudes worse. So if you can safely store some fuel, use stay-biel, rotate stock yearly, do it. That drum of gasoline might equal a drum of gold later. Power generation, even temporary, is a serious ace up the sleeve. Number 42, manual can opener and kitchen tools. We touched on this with cooking gear, but it bears repeating with emphasis. A manual can opener is a tiny object that will be worth lives if missing. All that canned food everyone raced to stockpile? Useless if you can't open the cans. Sure, you can stab a can open with a knife or smash it with a rock, but you'll waste food and possibly injure yourself badly. How ironic and tragic if someone starves next to a pile of canned goods because they lack this $2 tool. Preppers keep spares of can openers, the good kind with a crank and cutting wheel, and maybe P-38 military can openers as backups, those little metal ones from WW2, super portable. I guarantee can openers will be hot barter items after the initial frenzy. People will realize their electric opener doesn't work, or their only manual one broke. They do wear out or the blade dulls. If you have a few extras, you can name your price. Sure, I'll trade a can opener. What you got? Ammo? Water filters? Cash is worthless, but maybe some fuel or meds. You get it. In fact, during some past disasters, can openers were high demand in relief shelters because lots of donated food, but not enough openers. It's a real oversight. Along with that, other simple kitchen tools. Hand-operated grain mill, hand egg beater or whisk, hand coffee grinder. People will go insane without their coffee fix. If you have coffee beans and no grinder, you can smash with a rock, but a grinder is better. So think old-school kitchen. A sturdy cast-iron skillet, manual knife sharpener, even things like a French press or pour-over filter for coffee if that's your luxury, doesn't require power, just hot water. But the can opener is king among them. I put it separate to hammer it home. In functional terms, it's small, but unlocks thousands of calories of food easily. People will pay a lot for that ease. Another tiny overlooked item, salt and pepper shakers or spices, not critical but moral boosts and trade goods as food gets bland. But I digress. If you're prepping, throw a couple extra can openers in your cart next time. Keep one on your keychain even. They make small ones. It could be a fantastic gift to someone in need that gains you an ally. Or simply peace of mind that you'll get into those cans of soup when you need to. It's so small, but oh, will it be priceless when needed. Number 43, alcohol, liquor. Beyond water, there's one liquid that always holds value, booze. Hard liquor in particular, whiskey, vodka, rum, moonshine. These aren't just for a good time. They have myriad uses and trade value. After a collapse, stress will be sky high. Many will crave a stiff drink to cope or to feel a bit of normalcy. Liquor becomes a treasured commodity, a psychological escape, and a barter heavy hitter. Preppers often store some bottles not only to take the edge off in hard times, responsibly, you don't want to be drunk at the wrong time, but a nightcap for morale can keep you sane, but also for antiseptic uses. High-proof alcohol can clean wounds if needed. And as a fuel for stoves, ever heard of an alcohol stove? Spirits can burn. Also, certain liquors like grain alcohol, Everclear, can be used to make tinctures, medicinal herbal extracts. Very handy if you have herbal knowledge. Right now, booze is abundant. Post-collapse existing stock will disappear into people's gullets or storage quickly. No new production will come until someone cobbles a still, which they likely will eventually, but that takes time and skill, and grain or fruit resources. So those who already have a cache of spirits effectively hold liquid leverage. A bottle of Jack Daniels might trade for a pile of supplies when someone desperately wants a taste of the old world or needs it for sterilizing tools. Even tiny airline bottles or Nips preppers sometimes get those as small trade units. Because maybe you don't want to trade a whole fifth of whiskey, but a little 50 milliliters bottle? That's like the silver coin equivalent in booze currency. Tobacco, similarly. We'll get to that. But beyond trade, consider the morale. Celebrating a small victory or occasion with a shared shot of whiskey can keep a group's spirits up, no pun intended. It reminds them of humanity. That's non-tangible, but crucial. One caution: alcohol can also be a security risk if abused. Drunk people make mistakes. So preppers will keep it but not necessarily dip in often. It's as much a tool as a pleasure. If you personally don't drink, it still pays to store some fifths of common liquor. They never spoil if sealed, and they'll be as good as cash or better in barter. Right now, a decent bottle runs $20, $30. In collapse, priceless to the right person. Might trade for ammo or food easily. It's happened in history. Think prison hooch trading or colonial times using rum as currency. So yes, enjoy in moderation if you must, but definitely stash for barter or medical uses. Liquor, the versatile barter king that only gets more valuable with time when everything else goes to hell. Number 44, coffee and tea. For millions, mornings don't start without coffee. Remove that suddenly and you have a lot of unhappy, headachy people. Coffee, and to a lesser extent tea, will skyrocket in value post-collapse. It's not life or death like water, but tell that to a caffeine addict on day 3 of withdrawal. Preppers recognize the morale and trade value here. A tin of instant coffee, a bag of ground coffee, or better yet vacuum-sealed whole beans, with a hand grinder as mentioned, will be worth a fortune when no one's importing Colombian beans anymore. Tea too, especially black tea or green tea, which also has caffeine. Even herbal teas for flavor or mild medicine. But coffee is the big one. Historically, in war and crisis, coffee was a top barter item. Civil War soldiers cherished their coffee rations. In World War II, it was rationed and people would pay dearly on the black market. Human psychology. A cup of coffee brings a sense of normalcy and comfort that's almost therapeutic. Post-collapse, giving someone a cup of joe could be like handing them hope in a cup. For trade, small portions of coffee would be smart. For example, those single packets of instant coffee or tea bags, which you can trade 1 or 2 at a time. Preppers might store canned vacuum bricks of coffee, which last a while sealed, or mylar-packed beans. Also, chicory or other substitutes might come into play when real coffee runs out, but real coffee will be the real deal that everyone wants. Think ahead. If you're a serious coffee drinker, how will you brew it off-grid? Have a French press or percolator, or the old cowboy method, boil grounds, let settle. And stock filters if you need, though not absolutely necessary. Tea is easier, just steep leaves. Anyway, in normal times, coffee is taken for granted. Starbucks on every corner. After collapse, die-hard Starbucks fans will literally trade valuables for a taste of caffeine. I'm not exaggerating. Headaches from withdrawal, plus just the comfort, it's huge. So preppers keep a coffee stash even if they aren't daily drinkers themselves, knowing it's a bartering ace. Same for cigarettes, which we'll do next. But imagine in your group, morale is low, it's been a cold night, and someone manages a hot cup of coffee for the crew. That's a game changer mentally. Worth its weight in gold? Possibly. So stock up on some Folgers or whatever your brand. Vacuum seal it or keep it in the freezer pre-collapse. Prolongs freshness. Because one thing's certain, after the collapse, coffee will be one of those holy grail items people can't believe they ever lived without and can't get now. Number 45. Tobacco and cigarettes. Like booze and coffee, tobacco is another vice commodity that becomes ultra-valuable when scarce. Smokers in a collapse will go through hell when their supply runs out, and many will do almost anything for a nicotine fix. It's a bit dark, but preppers know that cigarettes and rolling tobacco can be prime barter goods. In prisons, cigarettes are currency. After a societal breakdown, similar dynamics emerge. Right now, cigarettes are readily available, though expensive with taxes, etc. Post-collapse, no more production or distribution means when the last pack is gone, that's it, unless someone locally starts growing and curing tobacco, which is possible but not immediate. So a stockpile of smokes, properly stored to keep them freshish, maybe vacuum sealed or frozen pre-event, is like having little barter gold coins. Even if you don't smoke, especially if you don't, you won't be tempted to burn your stock. You can trade 1 or 2 cigarettes for food, info, cooperation, you name it. A single cigarette to a nicotine-deprived person could be worth an astounding amount of goods or favors. Alternatively, store bulk pipe tobacco and rolling papers, easier to keep fresh and can be rolled as needed. Plus, even non-smokers could use small amounts as insect repellent or for calming nerves, as nicotine can steady you if you're addicted. Some preppers also stock nicotine patches or gum as trade items or to help their own group's smokers wean off without too much distraction. But honestly, most will just want to smoke. There's also the morale aspect. Like a stiff drink, a smoke can calm someone down in a stressful moment. Of course, encouraging smoking isn't healthy, but we're talking survival priorities and trade. Another angle, tobacco is a natural pesticide, tobacco tea spray for plants, and can deter pests, so it has other uses. In a grid-down economy, I wouldn't be surprised to see new farmers growing tobacco in their gardens just for trade. But until that supply catches up, which could be a couple seasons, existing tobacco is king. Pre-collapse, cartons of cigarettes are pricey but available. If you keep them sealed and cool, they'll hold for a while, though stale after years, but smokers will take anything. If you really want longevity, you could stock loose tobacco in tins. Regardless, you hold something deeply desired. Just be cautious. Highly sought goods can make you a target. Trade in small bits and not revealing your full stash is wise. But yeah, in terms of sheer barter muscle, a crate of Marlboros might get you farther than a crate of MREs in some crowds. Humans and their vices, as predictable as sunrise. Preppers who plan ahead will quietly accumulate a bit of the addictive stuff to have on hand. Because like it or not, it'll be priceless currency once those last clouds of smoke fade and withdrawals kick in across the population. Number 46, gold and silver, real money. Let's shift to something often debated, precious metals. In a short-term crisis, you can't eat gold. True. But in a protracted collapse or rebuilding phase, gold and silver coins historically re-emerge as accepted currency when paper money hyperinflates into toilet paper. Preppers diversify. After covering food, water, etc., many acquire some physical silver, junk silver coins like pre-1965 US dimes quarters, or small gold coins. Why? Because when the dollar becomes worthless due to hyperinflation or reset, people will revert to trade and also to intrinsic value currency. Gold and silver have been trusted for thousands of years. In a barter town months after collapse, you might see a loaf of bread cost X silver dimes, for instance. Also, if some semblance of economy returns or if you need to deal with foreign traders, metals will talk. Right now, some folks roll their eyes at doomsday gold hoarders, but central banks themselves stockpile gold. That's telling. In Weimar Germany's hyperinflation, those with a few gold coins could buy entire estates when the mark collapsed. So while your first priorities are food/water/security, having metals as a store of value can preserve wealth through the chaos. Preppers like silver, especially for everyday trade because it's in small denominations. A 1-ounce silver coin, around $30 today, might be a day's labor wage later or buy a few meals. Who knows? Gold is for larger transactions, too high value for a chicken, but maybe for a cow or a generator. Now, in immediate survival, yeah, gold won't feed you unless you find someone willing to trade their food for it, and some might, thinking long-term or because they have surplus. So it still can work, but its true worth shines in mid to late collapse stage when society craves stable value. Preppers hide some in secure places. Metal detectors exist, so be clever. After the collapse, a little pouch of silver coins could buy you safe passage or bribe someone when nothing else would, because they know it'll hold value. If paper dollars are being used as tinder, trust me, a gold coin glint will still turn heads. It's in our psyche. So I absolutely include precious metals as something that will be priceless, not from a survival consumption standpoint, but from a financial survival one. It's the fallback money. If the collapse is absolute and long-term, eventually communities may mint their own crude coins or use standardized bartering units, like ammo or grains. But until then, pre-1965 silver quarters or American gold eagles will likely circulate among prepared folks in the know. Get some while it's around at normal prices. You'll either hedge against economic disaster or have something shiny to trade for a life-saving supply one day. Either way, in a true collapse, gold and silver's value will outshine any fiat currency that's circling the drain. Number 47. Survival books and manuals. Knowledge is the one thing that doesn't weigh anything, but books do, and they're worth carrying anyway. In a world without Google, physical books on critical skills become treasures. Preppers often collect a library of survival manuals, first aid guides, edible plant IDs, engineering basics, homesteading handbooks, military survival guides, you name it. Right now you can find all that info online or order books cheap. After collapse, that paper could be life-saving knowledge no longer obtainable. Imagine someone in your group falls ill with something and you have Where There Is No Doctor on your shelf, an excellent remote medicine book. You can figure out a treatment where others would be helpless. Or you need to rig a water wheel or improvise a radio. If you have some reference material, you have a chance. Beyond survival, novels and Bibles and such will also have value for morale, but I'm focusing on practical manuals. A SAS survival guide or a basic gardening guide or an old set of encyclopedias could be priceless to a community restarting. Preppers know that relying on memory or downloaded PDFs, which might become inaccessible if devices die or EMP fries electronics, is risky. Hard copy is king when the power's out. I guarantee you, a person who preserved, say, an agricultural almanac or a book on solar panel wiring or herbal medicine will be a valued asset. They might trade the knowledge in the book for goods. I'll show you how to purify that water properly if you trade me some food. Information barter. Or trade the book itself if they have multiples. But ideally, keep your core library. It's effectively irreplaceable after the printing presses stop. Even fiction paperbacks become valuable for entertainment. Boredom is a real enemy in long-term survival. But again, practical guides == accelerating your community's recovery or survival efficiency. We'll be thrown back decades or centuries tech-wise for a bit, so having books from before can leapfrog you. Picture two survivor camps. One tries to figure out blacksmithing by trial and error, the other has a book on basic blacksmith techniques. Which thrives? Exactly. So before things go south, build yourself a mini Alexandria library of know-how. Think of areas: medicine, agriculture, mechanics, trapping, fishing, construction, energy, etc. Doesn't have to be huge. Even a binder of printed useful articles is good. Preppers treasure this meta supply because it helps produce all other supplies: knowledge to grow food, fix wells, heal wounds. Post-collapse, if you wander into a town with a few survival books to trade, the wise will trade you plenty for them, because those pages might hold the solution to their biggest problem. Knowledge is power, and in a collapsed world, a book of answers is beyond valuable. It's civilization, preserved on paper. Number 48. Tools and hardware. Manual tools, nails, etc. When things break or you need to build from scratch, tools and basic hardware become gold. Preppers stock up on hand tools that don't require power. Hammers, screwdrivers, hand drills, the old brace and bit type, wrenches, crowbars, hand planers, you name it. Plus consumables like nails, screws, nuts and bolts, wire and glue, epoxy. In normal life, Home Depot is always there. After collapse, if your shelter door falls off the hinge, you can't Amazon Prime new screws. You either have some or you improvise. The group with a well-equipped toolbox can rebuild and repair. The group without might be sitting in ruins. Picture needing to board up windows. If you have nails and a hammer, done. If not, you're scrounging for who knows what to secure wood, maybe wasting paracord or duct tape. Not efficient. Preppers know that a few pounds of assorted nails and screws are worth packing away. They last forever if kept dry. Same for a saw blade sharpener, files for sharpening axes, spare parts like axe handles, because they can break. It's the era of DIY again, and those who have the tools rule. In barter, a simple toolkit could command high value. Even just a good hammer or a handsaw blade might be desperately wanted. Because people will try to fix their roof with a rock if they have to. It's happened in places with no supplies. Better to have a hammer and nails. Think also shovels and broom, axe we did, but also machete or heavy knife for clearing brush. The stuff you'd find in a classic farmhouse or workshop. That's what ends up priceless when you have to rely on handiwork for survival. Another one, wire. A coil of baling wire can do miracles. Tie fences, make snares, fix mufflers, you name it. It's like metal duct tape. Preppers often keep a roll or two. And tape beyond duct tape, electrical tape, plumbing tape. Handy if you need to jury-rig some remaining systems like a leaky pipe. All these little hardware bits cost pennies now, but become irreplaceable later. If you've ever done a home project and were one bolt short on a Sunday night, you know the frustration. Now imagine that, but permanent. If you don't have it, you have to tear something else apart or go without. So those who hoarded hardware and tools will be the fixers and builders. They'll rebuild civilization one nail and screw at a time. People will come to them like, "Please, do you have a screw to fix my wagon wheel?" And deals will be made. So hit up garage sales or stores now. Get a variety of sturdy hand tools. Modern ones are fine. Older ones from antique shops are sometimes even better quality. Don't forget multimeter or basic electrical testers if you plan to scavenge electronics. But that's maybe beyond initial stage. Regardless, tools equal sign capability. They will be priceless because they enable so much else. You can't plant without a shovel. Can't secure shelter without hammer and nails. Can't fix engines without wrenches. This is basic, yet so many overlook it in favor of tactical gear. Preppers don't. They prep the workshop too, because that's how you stay self-sufficient when everything else is gone. Number 49, sanitation and waste disposal items. This one isn't sexy, but oh boy is it important. Managing human waste and trash. After collapse, toilets might stop flushing. No water or sewer pumps down. Garbage trucks stop running. If people don't handle waste, disease will erupt. Cholera, dysentery, worse. Items like buckets with toilet seats, sawdust or lime for composting waste, shovels for burying, and heavy contractor trash bags, we covered bags already, become lifesavers. Preppers often plan for a latrine or have a portable camping toilet. They store lime or bleach to sanitize human waste. They have thick gloves and maybe even a hazmat suit, or at least face masks for handling gross stuff. In normal times, few consider this. Flush and forget. Curb your garbage and off it goes. Post-collapse, it's your problem now. A 5-gallon bucket toilet lid is like $10 now. After collapse, priceless if you don't want to squat in the yard and risk contaminating water sources. If you have an outhouse or composting toilet system prepared, you're golden brown. Communities that organize waste disposal, digging pits away from water, burning trash that can be burned safely, composting organics, will fare far better health-wise. But to do that, you need tools and materials. For instance, lime, calcium hydroxide, can be sprinkled on feces to neutralize smell and pathogens. Is that in your prep? It should be. Trash bags I hammered on because they keep nasty stuff contained. Soap and bleach we did for cleaning. But specifically, items like plenty of toilet paper did that, and maybe female urination devices for women to pee standing if no toilets, to reduce mess. Some preppers include that. Also, consider pest control. With waste around, flies and rats will thrive. Mouse traps, rat poison, fly traps, and repellents might be huge to maintain sanitation. Those are little items now. Big deal later. If you can keep your area relatively clean and plague-free, you've won half the battle. Meanwhile, others wading in filth will get sick and possibly die. It's grim, but true. So yes, the means to dispose of waste, from a simple shovel dedicated to latrine duty, to storing extra septic-safe trash bags that can hold human waste to bury, and knowledge of where to put latrines, downhill, away from water sources. These often overlooked ick items will suddenly become everyone's priority when the smell hits. If you have extra shovels or those snap-on toilet seats or spare lime, you could trade them at insane value to those desperate to solve their sanitation crisis. People will pay anything for a clean solution when their kids are getting sick. So preppers quietly stock these, even if they chuckle about it. Because when nature calls in the post-collapse world, you'll want answers. Have the supplies and plan ready. It's as important as food and water, trust me. Number 50, barter skills and community connections, the ultimate prep. I'll end with something a bit different. Beyond physical items, the skills and community relationships you have will be priceless after a collapse. All the gear in the world helps, but knowing how to use it and having people to rely on multiplies your survival odds. Skills like first aid, mechanical repair, carpentry, foraging, hunting, defending, even bartering and negotiating, these become currency in themselves. Preppers spend time learning these because when Amazon's gone, you are the factory, the doctor, the engineer. Being the person who knows how to purify water or set a broken bone or fix an engine will make you incredibly valuable in a group. You can trade your knowledge or labor for goods you need. That's why I say barter skills, meaning have skills so in demand that you can always get by. Also, community connections. The lone wolf fantasy doesn't last. Preppers network with neighbors, build trust, maybe form MAGs, mutual assistance groups, because a group can defend and support each other far better than an individual. Post-collapse, someone with no useful skills and no friends is in dire straits, even if they hoarded stuff. They'll just become a target or run out of something they can't replace. But someone who invested in being a medic or a mechanic and built goodwill will be protected. We need them, don't let them starve, people will say. So in a sense, the priceless thing is being prepared as a person, not just your stockpile. I include this at the end because it ties everything together. Preppers don't just hoard, they practice and build relationships. That is something money can't buy last minute. When the collapse hits, you can't suddenly learn to garden or shoot or fix a generator. You need to have those down. Those who did will essentially hold the keys to rebuilding. And the neighbors who mocked your prepping might then follow your lead because you know what to do. That leadership and knowledge, priceless. So yes, all the 49 items we listed will be insanely valuable. But the brain and heart of a prepper, that mindset, skill set, and community bond, that's the master asset that ties it all together. If you cultivate that now, every tool and supply becomes more effective, and you'll navigate the chaos far better. In trade, maybe you don't need to barter goods because you barter help. I'll repair your well if you give me some of the water, etc. So don't neglect this final thing. It's not a thing, but it's the most crucial. In the end, knowledge, skills, and community will carry you when stuff runs out. That will never run out and will only grow more valuable each day into a collapse. America, I'm not telling you all this to spread fear. I'm doing it to wake you up. The threats are real, they are immediate, and time is almost up to prepare. The hyperinflation warnings, the geopolitical chaos, the cyber threat to our grid, the supply chain breaking under our feet, it's all happening right now. The federal government can sound the alarm, and they have, albeit quietly, but no one is coming to save you in time. This responsibility is yours. Preppers have been mocked for years, but guess what? If collapse hits, the last laugh will belong to those who foresaw the obvious and got ready. They'll be the ones drinking clean water, eating meals while others scavenge, defending their families, and maybe even helping rebuild. The 50 items we just blasted through aren't science fiction. They're grounded in history and common sense. Every item on this list is cheap or available today, and will be virtually impossible to get or prohibitively expensive after a collapse. Priceless. So listen up. You need to act now. Not tomorrow. Not when the next newscaster hints at panic. Now. Start stockpiling these items quietly and steadily. Learn the skills to use them. Talk to your family, your trusted friends. Form a plan and a team. Because once the dominoes start falling, from the dollar tanking to the lights going out, to empty store shelves and armed looters roaming, you won't have the luxury of time or the convenience of shopping. You'll only have what you've got on hand and in your head. Preppers know this, and they're ready. Will you be? The window to prepare is slamming shut. Hyperinflation can ignite overnight. One cyber attack can plunge us into darkness tomorrow. The world's already teetering on the brink. I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm being blunt because the hour is late. This is your wake-up call, America. Every single item on this list could mean the difference between life and death, between desperation and dignity, between being a victim and being a survivor. Take this seriously. Get aggressive about prepping yesterday. In the aftermath, these 50 things will be priceless, but far more priceless is the time you have right now to secure them before the collapse. Don't waste it. Stay alert, stay ready, and I'll see you on the other side of whatever's coming. No excuses. Get it done. Your future self, your family, and your country, what's left of it, will thank you. Godspeed and good luck.